and the ancestors are looking out for us. God Hayes is exposing them, man.
Okay, you see that chair right there? See how big it is?
Yeah.
Now look at the Pope chair under it. Scroll down, look at the Pope chair under
Never have it been made so clear.
Young TV. Young.
We running the game right now.
Young TV.
Time to take over.
Young
We the hottest in the game. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you just not tuned in.
TV.
Share, like on your Instagram, Facebook.
Young TV.
If you tuned in, we broadcasting live from 2030, baby.
Young TV. Young
Taking over the game, baby. Oh yeah.
Young TV.
Hit that like.
Young TV.
Get them likes up in the air, you heard me?
Young TV.
Ride by. Hotel Islam.
Young TV.
Assalamu alaikum. Flow lekker. Peace.
Young
Be unto you.
TV.
Hit that like.
Hey, Rob, hit that like button, that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. This show is entitled Big Mama's Think Tank. And we came on 7 minutes early. We're supposed to start at 9:30. We got Chief Pontiac going to be in the building breaking down his perspective because everybody's saying Raw got a different perspective on, and we heard Raw do got a different perspective. And so it's like a little bit of both because, like I said, we take in our perspectives. And we also here to take ideas and questions from the public on ideas for the Big Mama stimulus package or the Big Mama's restoration plan. We gave you a basic layout of it, but like I said, we here to take questions and answers and concerns from the public on dealing with the crypto and all that. So Raw was talking about a thing called brick, and people was wondering, is this brick gonna bust us upside the head or bust the suckers upside the head who been hustling us the whole time? Right? This brick, Britain, Russia, I think Iran, China, and I think Saudi Arabia, I think that was the other one. But Rod gonna break that down a little bit more. And I can't wait to let y'all hear what Rod got because he got a lot of the stuff that's going on in the background about Big Mama's banks and all that. He about to, we got a lot of questions. Matter of fact, if we can start, so get your questions ready on what you on things you think that should be added to Big Mama's. Shout out everybody in the building, man. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. So waiting on Raw gonna be on at 7:30. So I mean 7:30. So I just came on 7 minutes early to get everybody in, to tell everybody to set it out because we're going. It's like a surprise class. We didn't even know we was gonna do it tonight, but wanted to get everybody on because, like I said, we getting ready to. The government is getting ready to leave, go away. They already pretty much closed out, and everything's getting ready to switch over. So we got to be prepared and have our stuff together already, so that it don't be chaotic as we switch, as they're pulling their pacifier to your mouth, right? So we're gonna be we got a couple people coming on. Like I say, Raw to be on in about 3 or 4 minutes. But like I say, he says, what's the difference between sovereignty and nationality? Okay, I'm gonna write that down. Let me write that down so we can ask Rod when he get him on. I can get my perspective on it, but okay. So by you asking that question, Beat, do you mean like, okay, so I want to get a better idea on what because I want to add that to the thing. So do you mean like versus citizenship versus sovereign versus nationality? Like what would we be under the new system of Big Mama? Are you getting into that type of thing? So I want to be more specific on the question when we ask Rod when he come in to the show. Hey, shout out everybody that's coming in the building. Like I said, this is Big Mama Think Tank. We're gonna be taking questions and answers, questions from the public and concerns. We hope y'all watch the Big Mama's 20-minute tape on the presentation that we put out on just the basic layout. Now that's gonna be tweaked, like I said, based on what y'all give us, and we'll make updates and tweaks to it. We even gonna we the type of people, because we on a different energy field and channel. We the type of people that we even gonna incorporate some of the Nissara, some of the things they said in there, the little 25-30% that we liked. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna incorporate that into our plan too. Because we use a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Because it's the future, and we gotta make adjustments based on the time that we in. So I can't wait till Rod come in and, like I say, break down the thing about the gold, the brick, and all that. And like I said, people was wondering, if you just not coming in, hit that subscribe button. People was wondering, is this brick? Do anybody out there know about the brick? And is this brick gonna bust us upside the head, or is this brick gonna bust the suckers upside the head that been hustling us, such as the Federal Reserve? You know what I'm saying? And it sounded like to me, based on what Rod was, the little bit of rundown that Rod gave me, this brick is designed to bust the suckers who've been screwing us over the whole time. This brick may be busting them upside the head, and it might be the same brick that was about to be that Saddam Hussein was trying to bust them upside the head with, and Muhammad Gaddafi, if I'm saying his name right, before they took him out. He was trying to bust them with this same brick. You know what I'm saying? The new gold standard. So I'm just checking to see if Raw in the building. Yeah, man, but like I said, based on what we got so far, you don't want to get left hanging. We don't want this to go into a chaotic state once the government pull their titty. Because what you're gonna find out is a lot of organizations only exist. A lot of these businesses only exist because of the government. That's another thing. The FDA take money under the table allegedly to pass certain things that's banned in other countries. We just put out a tape called 15 foods that's banned in other countries. Now, why other countries ban this shit and then America go along with it? And the people at the FDA approve shit that they know that they give them a couple of dollars under the table to look the other way. Everybody, that's why America's so tainted. It's because people been paying people to look the other way for so long. Oh, here go Raw right here. Hey y'all, Chief Pontiac in the building, y'all. Skype Ape at the North Gate. Hey y'all, so like y'all was saying, I told y'all Young Yellow got different he just taking perspectives. I ain't biased. I like to hear everybody's perspective, what they got, the full perspective, so I can add it to my game. Now y'all said that Raw had a different perspective, but Raw more deeper. What Raw was telling me on the phone, it was more complex than what y'all was saying. So hey bro, I'm gonna hit you with a couple of questions before we get into the brick. Like I said, everybody was wondering, was this brick gonna be used to bust us upside the head, or bust the motherfuckers upside the head who been hustling us the whole time, right? But this is the first question I got for you, Raw, because I got some stuff written down. We're gonna get to your question. The lady that dropped the question, I wrote it down. We're gonna get to that. The first question I want to ask for you, because this is my question really. I want to ask, what does Big Mama consider as money? What does because we know that they got the fiat money, then they got commodity money. That's like, stuff that we need, or stuff that they use to sell on the market. So what do Big Mama consider as money? And what is money? What is it that the whole breakdown of it? Go ahead. That's the first question we have for you today, brother.
Okay. money is a medium of exchange between two individuals to have what's called fair and equitable exchange of goods and services. That's what money is. That's different from currency. Currency is like a die marker in the energy stream of the people, and it's just a fiat. It's just like if you put a die in a river to find out which one of the streams is collecting water from the river, you watch where the die go. This is why all of the banks are set up on what they call sigil points. The sigil points is the points of power between the vehicles of exchange, as in the markets, the auto market, the grocery market, the fast food market, the shopping centers. All of those are to capture energy at a particular point on the grid. The bank is the place that you go. It's called the bank based off the banks of the river, right? The banks of the river, when you coming out of the water, in other words, when you leave the current, you need to rest because you've been swimming for 2 hours, you go to the bank. The bank is where they rest the currency to determine how much they've captured in any geographical area. And it also tells them who's spending money, who's saving money, and who they need to get rid of, because now they figure out how to work the fractional reserve system to their advantage. That's the difference between money and currency. In Big Mama Bank, in the olden days, we use gold, silver, coal, what we call mineral wealth. Mineral wealth is in order to supply the people that's giving us what's called gross domestic or gross national product, which consists of your food stocks and all of this stuff, right? So you needed a medium of exchange similar to an IOU, except the IOU is backed by a substance that's on reserve in the so-called bank, right? So the outlaws was robbing the banks in the West because the tribes in the West did their business so well that they couldn't usurp them using the traditional business strategy. So then they had to resort to what's called robbery on the high seas, which is in the land. When they're applying admiralty to land, the robbery on the high seas becomes robbery on the highway. The highway didn't used to be the road system. The highway used to be the river networks that the indigenous or the organic tribes, I don't like to say indigenous because that's confusing, and native is confusing, but organic means you emerge from the land like a tree. Your bloodline been here so long, it's emerged from the land just like a tree. All right, so now when you separate currency and money, right, you had to marry two different banks together. So pull out $1, Elder. You got $1 on you?
Nah, my wallet in the truck. I left my wallet in the truck. Yeah.
Okay. Can you Google a picture of $1?
Yep. Oh, I can put it on my laptop. I think so. I wish I would have did this on the laptop. Yeah, but we just went live. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, don't even worry about it. If you look on the dollar, this is all I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah.
You're gonna see that it's a contract.
Yeah.
Okay, first you gotta know what a contract is. A con is a game of deception. A tract is a tract of land. The land that they deceiving is in the form of the physical organic being. He's a walking plot or lot of land. Go back to what Papa said. Free Malachi York, free Rashad Jamal, free Larry Hoover, free Angel Bay. Free Imam Abu Jamal. Free all political prisoners. Unleash the chiefs on the land. I don't know where that just came from. I just had to say it.
Oh yeah, hit him.
Okay, so when they got these two banks on there, one of them is called the Federal Reserve Bank, and they have a contract with something called the United States Treasury. The contract has to always be visible to anybody participating in the contractual obligation between the two banks. Right? When did they break they gave us a clue, but I'm gonna see who's paying attention. When did they break the contract or conclude the business contract between the Federal Reserve and the United States Treasury? You know what the clue they gave was, right?
What was the clue?
Okay, if you had a river and you got to get from one side of the river to the other side of the river, you got several means to get across. Can you name them?
Swim. Get a boat.
You can go by boat. You can swim.
Shit.
Or
build you a bridge.
Build you a bridge.
Yeah.
Go back. Okay, so who wrote the Star Spangled Banner?
One of the Nubian lady that wrote it, but they took it though, gave it to somebody else.
Listen, who get the credit?
It really, hey, I remember you did a tape on that. It tied into Farrakhan somewhere kind of way, like to Farrakhan wife or somebody.
That was the flag. That was the flag.
Okay, that was the flag.
Star Spangled Banner was written by Francis Scott Keys. Okay. You know, it ain't ringing no bells, is it?
No.
Now I'm finna ring the shit out your bell.
Okay.
Remember, the Francis Scott Keys Bridge got ran into by a barge and collapsed and exploded, but it was an illusion. It was a controlled demolition under the pretense of a barge smashing into the pylon of the bridge.
Damn, that just happened too.
So that's when the two banks are no longer together. Why would you separate the Federal Reserve from the United States Treasury?
Yeah, hey, that's the next question. Go ahead, write that down.
The Federal Reserve is a foreign body politic.
Okay.
Doing business in an interim capacity, and they assume the financial responsibilities of the United States Treasury.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
The United States Treasury was held hostage under the Civil War from the North.
Mm-hmm.
The original bank was the Bank of the South. It was the only operational, fully functional bank that was tied to all of the big mama banks all the way to what we call today Oregon and Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. There was no banks in New York, Boston, Baltimore that was tied to the banks, the big mama banks, what we call the United States treasures. Mm-hmm. The treasures of the United States, which mm-hmm. takes you to the movie of National Treasure with Nicolas Cage. Right. After he go on the scavenger hunt, then he finds himself in an underground tunnel that goes from New York to Philadelphia to DC, and it's fully loaded with all kinds of treasure. Gold, jewelry, ancient stuff that's covered in dust because Big Mama Bank been locked down.
Right.
Right? Why was Big Mama Bank locked down? We was at war. Big Mama mm-hmm. Bank does not function during war. This is a term that's been classified and appointed to an individual, but it don't have nothing to do with a man witch called a warlock.
Go ahead.
A warlock is Big Mama shutting her bank down during war so that nobody can steal the wealth of the collective.
Uh-huh.
You can only take individual wealth. You cannot steal the wealth of the collective because it's not part of the war. It's not what they call booty or spoils of war.
Right.
right? So now the current system is collapsing in real time. I was just telling you about the girl. Somebody sent me the video of the little girl who had the baby dolls and books targeting the melanated children, and they just liquidated her bank and never sent them a check because they say
Damn.
her address, they didn't leave their address on file, but their address is the header to the account.
Right.
All right, now the reason that is she gonna get all her money back with interest. First of all, I gotta tell y'all that out the gate. Everybody that the system is literally stealing from, if you don't get land back, you will have a proper compensation for the land that was removed from your family. This is why I keep telling everybody to learn family banking. If you don't learn family banking, then you're gonna be the last ones in your family or in the families that's collective to get wealth back.
Hey,
You
so
won't be
Rod,
able. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so that brings the next question. Because people were asking about reparations and how are we gonna redistribute the wealth under Big Mama's rule? Are we gonna just line up and they hand out money or hand out some certificate and say, oh, here you go, you 100, here you go, you 100. Like how's the transition gonna happen? Because we know, and this are the questions that I got written down. We know that the government is going out of business, and it's a lot of people that depend on the government. It's a lot of people that depend on Social Security, disability, food stamps. You know, just that little extra they get from the government. They've been living on it for a while. Housing support for the people that only paying a certain amount of money. That's the next question. I got a whole bunch of questions dealing in this think tank, but how is the transition going to happen from the government shut down and then the support that we get from the government? Because we know that Donald Trump was in there. He was cutting back on food stamps. He was collecting money from people and shedding people off. So, like, how does that work? That's the first part of the question about the switchover.
Okay, during the transitional period, everybody that's getting Social Security, they cannot turn it off.
Okay.
Social Security is one of the few things that they can't turn off.
Okay.
Only it won't be nowhere to cash your check. Because all of the regular banks are under the Federal Reserve's jurisdictional authority, and it's lost to the Federal Reserve, to the tribes.
Damn.
Okay, now, for those people who want to know what Big Mama is going to have control of on the turnaround, you have about 25 years of executive orders to read. All of them is on average about a page long. They go all the way back to Bill Clinton in the mid-90s and come all the way up to the last one that was issued by Donald J. Trump. If you go to the national, if you go to the executive order web page of the government, it's a bar across the top that's telling you that page is frozen time. I mean, they can't update it. I mean, the last executive order was the last executive order. If they told you Biden did an executive order, they lying.
Right.
Because he's not the president. Donald J is the wartime president. When he was elected originally, he wasn't elected under the Republic. The Republic was suspended with the 18th president. And then they put in interim presidents all the way up until Donald Trump pulled their card with the white hats. Okay. So what happens now, all of these people then being taken advantage of by a corrupted system, and we've been watching this system a minimum since JFK assassination.
Right.
Right. This is what activated the white hats to be able to step in because of what was written by the founding fathers, not the ones they telling us about, but the Iroquois Confederacy, which takes us to the Longhouse.
Okay. Yep. The Longhouse.
Under the Longhouse doctrine of the Confederate nations that they had a certain amount of time to restore the government back, but instead of restoring it, they just kept stepping on us and taking more and stepping on us and taking more until they stretched from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Right now, what we about to see happen is Big Mama Bank. Under first thing you're gonna see us season, it's gonna be 3 key banks or businesses that the tribes seized a long time ago, but you haven't heard about it yet. BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard.
Yeah, right. Go ahead. Go break that.
Right. Now, under Vanguard, you have a starving artist program that was founded by Tupac Amaru back in '92 with the financial and military strategic advice of his family. And y'all all know who his family is, Panthers. And they told him how to secure the artist's wealth without having to deal directly with the contracts, right? So what they was doing is an artist was saying, and they'd give him an advance. A percentage of the advance went into what's called the VMix account. The VMix account only trade in very key high return products like white diamonds, right? They won't deal in a lesser diamond than the top-notch, flawless white diamonds. This is to make sure that when the economy fall, they have substance. So all of these artists, Pop Smoke, Young Dolph, what's my man out of Chicago? King Von. Yeah, all of their wealth is secured. And because of the way they investments ran, now they worth more than dead celebrity status was when they murdered them or murdered them on record. Many of them elected to go that route because they return would be so much greater in the aftermath of this war that's been taking place right under our noses for the last 6,000 years. Okay, so now everything gonna come when they tell you BlackRock fell, they lying. BlackRock can't fall because BlackRock is not part of the fiat system. But what they can do is they can tell you BlackRock fell under the fiat system, and then BlackRock turn around and rise up. But it's not what we think. It's not who we think. Don't none of the people they tell you run it or own it. Now, that's the same for Vanguard, and that's the same for State Street. And that's why they own each other's stock. That's a business strategy. Now, remember, I'm telling y'all this financial stuff, but this is not my area of specialty. Okay, now, when Big Mama Bank take over, the old system has to collapse. Okay. When the old system collapse, it's going to be what's called a grace period where people going to have to pay attention, or else they going to lose track of what's going on to get their family's wealth. A lot of us don't want to pay attention. We want to listen to guys like Rod Hayes, like Rashad Jamal, like Young Elder, like Phase One. They like to listen to us go on rants and tirades about being done wrong. It makes them feel good. It's almost like going to church. Where you go and you shout on Sunday to make it tolerable to do another week of slavery as a slave on the plantation called the plant or the workforce.
Damn, you going in. Go ahead.
Right. So now we come full circle. We at the gates of the great hurrah, the last motherfucking collapse. I was watching the retired military general out of Australia. I was trying to find the video because I wanted you to share it with the people. But it's on another app. The one Dr. Kia Pruitt used to be on. I can't even remember the name of it. Might be, is it Discord?
Yeah, I think it's the name of it, Discord.
And maybe they put videos up like YouTube.
Yeah.
Anyway, so whatever it is, but he was going into all of this stuff I'm telling you, I've been saying for the last year and a half. And he said the same thing almost word for word, like he was quoting me.
Yeah.
But he's an insider. Right? He's part of the contingent of white hats that's operating in Australia, or what we call the Outback. It's not Australia, it's the Outback. It's the land of the Aboriginals, or the land of the people that was already there. Outback mean in the fields in the 9 city areas, but it's all still part of their territory. They can't take that from them. They blood ties and their ancestral ceremonial burial sites is still there. They tried to exhume our burial sites to move us off the land, but we got too many ancestors and they couldn't dig them up fast enough before the close of the age in the last 500 years to get them all. And all we need is one ancient ancestor still buried. And all you got to do is go to Jekyll Island, where we got those 8-foot tall chiefs. It's like 7 of them down there, where they did the Jekyll Island conjure to establish the central bank, because they didn't have, they basically used counter conjure to conjure our ancestors for their bidding. The old spirits is fickle. If they own won't call on them, they will answer who will.
Go ahead.
Right? So when they went to them, we hadn't called on them for over 200 years. And now, thanks to Rising Phoenix, thanks to Arisha Stone and several others, Kelly the Love Aquarian, they done went down there and did the family business on the Jekyll Island in the plane in front of everybody, and nobody didn't know what they was doing, but they was calling the ancestral forces, stop supporting the enemy. We need you to get back what's rightfully ours. Right? All of this has been going on in real time. Matter of fact, if you go to my Instagram story, you'll see Phoenix story where she just got done going down there. And the crazy thing is, on the 22nd, I went to Detroit. You know what? September the 22nd is the day that is recorded by the Nation of Islam that Master Muhammad introduced himself to the messenger Elijah Muhammad.
Go ahead. Right.
Now, that's the cover story.
Yeah. 1887, right? 76 is what it was.
It was 1930, I think.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the date he was born. My bad.
Yeah, you talking about his birthday.
Yeah,
but that's the day that he introduced himself to Elijah Muhammad, which is a significant date. And I found myself in Detroit on the 22nd. At the same time, I'm in Detroit having the powwow with a small family group. Phoenix is in Jekyll Island doing family business on behalf of Oye, Yemiya, and Oshun. And so they can dress this monkey up whatever suit they want to put in. They can't stop it from being a monkey, because what's coming, they can't stop. There's too many of us that's aware of the part that we play in the ancestral redemption process. I'm just here to tell you who did the conjure and how do we prove it and how do we get from under it. That's my job. My job is not to deal with the financial aspect. That's why I don't do nothing for money, because the money will confuse you and delude you into thinking that the people that's controlling fiat control money, and all they controlling is a false premise.
He didn't say money. He said the economy. That's what John Rockefeller, what his name is, Rothschild. But that brings the next question I got for you, Rod. Now, people were saying that the tax, and I'm gonna get into the, we'll get into the tax next, but I want to ask
Ain't
you
no
this question.
taxes on Big Mama Bank. And Big Mama Bank, there's no such thing as taxes.
Okay, right there. Then.
There's no such thing as taxes. Taxes is a usury that was created by Khazarians under the system of Babylonian money magic. Same with fractional reserve banking. All that's Babylonian money magic.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All that
So
come out of, you can read about it in the Talmud and Mishnah where they telling them to control the Goy's money.
yeah,
Controls a means of medium of exchange for goods and services, and they ain't nothing they could do but come to you to do business. So
yeah,
that's one of the things we had to recover was the whole economic system. We have to put a whole new system in place, and under the old system, our system would be considered fraud. But under our system, their system is considered fraud.
Okay.
Their system is based on fractional reserve banking, where $10 can get you $1,000 without you ever doing nothing but writing it on the paper.
Yeah.
Ours is, if you don't have the money, we can't give you a loan. There's no such thing as credit or taxes under Big Mama Bank. It's what we call cash and carry. You either can afford to live at this level or you can't afford it. There's no longer will you be putting off what you right. You're gonna live your life perpetually in debt, buying things you can't afford, which is called consumerism.
Right.
And if you go listen to them, they always talking about the consumer this, the consumer that. Well, why are they calling you a consumer? What do consumers do? They consume. The consumer, the Jewish term for them is useless eaters.
Okay.
That means that you consuming, but you don't have any intrinsic value of the self. You the same as cattle. That's what the whole term goyim means, chattel. Right? So you a chattel human, just like they got cattle. Cattle is the terms of Bovians. Chattel was in reference to packs of humans. And they told you tribes was gangs and that gangs was bad. They never told you that tribe and gang can be used interchangeably. And because we don't do the etymology, we never know that when they talking about a gang, they talking about a tribe.
Right. Go ahead.
So now we know what's going on. We know who did it, all that stuff. But here it is. We don't have enough people to hit critical mass because people are inherently naive and believe in the status quo, which has been a fraud the whole time. They believe more in the current uniform system because the uniforms make people look legit.
Right.
That's straight out of the Niccolo Machiavelli, the prince, telling him how to control people with trinkets of worthless metals formed into fancy items in order to give them recognition that makes them feel like they're superior to somebody else. It's trickery.
Right.
Next
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just on the same line. So you're gonna keep you going. You're on the same line. So what people asking, and I wrote the questions down. They said, okay, what would happen to the police? Being the police is on this private corporation, corps. They're under uniform codes and commercial codes and all these codes. What would how would the transition happen with the police going out? Because a lot of them shut down. They ain't saying it. A lot of departments closing down. What would happen with the police department? Will the gangs or something, what would be converted over as
the first thing you're going to see when the
public service? Okay.
Right. So the first thing you'll see is National Guard taking over.
Okay.
That's the first thing you're going to see.
Okay.
This is to give the ones who's been deceptively incorporated into the police force an opportunity to salvage themselves and their family. Some of the police believe that they are walking incarnations of the law.
Mhm.
And if you don't listen to them, you in violation. They got a term for it called, if you look up this term, matter of fact, I'm gonna pull it up on here.
Mhm.
I'm gonna pull it up.
Write it down.
The term is called contempt of cop.
That's some ones I'm just doing my job.
No, they believe that they are the job. They're not doing their job. They the walking embodiment of the law. Look, contempt of cop. Look, let me show you.
Yeah.
So, I'm about to read it. I want to show you that I ain't just quoting nothing off my head. It's a contempt of cop is law enforcement jargon in the United States. Now notice where it's at. For behavior by people toward law enforcement officers that the officers perceive as disrespectful or insufficiently deferential to their authority. It is a play on the phrase contempt of court and is not an actual offense. Right?
Wow. It's part of the conjuring.
Some examples of behavior that may be considered contempt of cop include disobeying instructions. There's no law saying you have to listen to the police. Expressing interest in filing a complaint against the officer. Making profane and disrespectful remarks to the officer. Nobody didn't tell you got to respect them. Fuck them.
Right.
Being slow to or not submitting to the officer's requests, directions, or orders. There is no law saying you got to listen to them until they come up with this term called resisting arrest. Think about that for a minute.
Right.
When they say resisting arrest, they mean that you're refusing to become a prisoner.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
If you get in a war zone, right? And you go, if you an American soldier, it's two of y'all, you ride down in Iraq on 50 Iraqi loyalist jihad soldiers and say, put your hands on the car, you under arrest. What's supposed to happen according to nature?
All them GI finna get on your ass. You ain't taking none of
They tear your ass up. Now look what we do. They ride down on 50 Bloods or 50 Crips or 50 GDs or 50 BDs or 50 Peace Stones or 50 Vice Lords and say, hey, come over here. Now, majority of them gonna stab out and run. We out of here.
Yeah.
A small group of them gonna say, oh man, police always harassing us. They're gonna put their hands on the car. They're gonna get patted down. And out of all the ones that did that, about out of every 10 of them, at least 2 of them gonna have something that's illegal.
Right.
In their possession. No matter what it is, whether it's a joint, whether it's a old crack pipe, old weed pipe, whatever it is, you're gonna have something illegal on you. First of all, why in the fuck is you bothering me? Right? When the police is only supposed to respond to a complaint.
Right. Go ahead. Say
That's
something
their
now.
job. Their job is not to stop crime. Their job is to wait for the crime to happen and then find somebody to punish for the crime that they are saying happened.
Right.
This is why they can kill an innocent man with no repercussions.
Probable cause, they created probable cause to be able to overthrow that rule.
Well, probable cause was the way to get around the Miranda.
Okay.
Your right to remain silent and your right not to be a witness against yourself. Probable cause is just to usurp your rights.
Okay, go ahead.
Right? Because now, what do they use for probable cause? Oh, I thought I smelled some weed. Ain't nobody smoked no weed in this car since 1975. It's 1998. What is you talking about? Right? But it don't matter. The officer perception, now we going back to the contempt of cop, his perception, right? His profile that he developed in his own mind, according to his own understanding of the law. And they never taught law. They taught law enforcement. They not taught law.
And
You should
code.
not be allowed to be a law enforcer without knowing law.
Right.
Because if one of your fellow officers is committing a crime in front of you, you covering for him, you are a aider and abettor according to law.
Facts.
But according to the police, I'm honoring the blue wall. I ain't rolling on my they more anti-snitch than the niggas in the street.
Damn. That's true,
will,
bro.
Look, they will leave a partner that then told on one of them to his own devices in the most hostile situation to get him killed.
Damn.
All you got to do is go back and watch some of those police movies like Internal Affairs. They'll show you.
Yeah. Yeah.
They writing these movies based on testimonials of people who worked in that field. They call consultants because now they retired.
Right. Go ahead.
Right. Okay. Now, when the National Guard come in, they the first motherfuckers getting arrested. This is why police stations and sheriff's offices is closing down. The sheriff is a unique animal because the sheriff is supposed to be elected by the people.
Right.
Right. And the marshal, the U.S. Marshal is supposed to be elected by the people. Them are not supposed to be appointed positions.
Right.
Currently, the U.S. Marshal is an appointed position. It's not supposed to be.
Big Mama got U.S. badges, Marshal badges.
Yeah. But they're not supposed to be appointments. The U.S. Marshal is supposed to be the sheriff that has jurisdictional authority to operate on multiple tribal territories. Right? Now, all of their powers have been stripped. You know who got their power?
We do.
No. We ain't got shit from them. The U.S. Marshal powers is the FBI powers now.
Go ahead.
What's to do with the Attorney General's office?
Okay.
Right. All that's U.S. Marshal's power. That's not separate. But they separated it in order to give them more isolated control over aspects of how we govern. And then it makes it where they can put people that are controllable at the top of these organizations. Right. So if you have a marshal that haven't been elected, he's operating under fraud, under fraudulent pretenses, what they call in the United States Code. He's operating under colorable law, the color of law.
That's right.
Right. That means that he's doing all of the things that the lawful person would do, but he don't have the legal standing to do it.
Right. No delegation.
Right. That's because it's de facto. De facto means they just assuming the position. But since it ain't nobody else here to be mayor, I'll appoint me. Now, and since it ain't nobody to be deputy mayor, elder, I'll appoint you. Now, how we like that? Right. That's what they doing. You can't do that.
Yeah.
The chiefs are not, look, the chiefs are born into families. The family test them. Then they send them to the local community. Then they send them out in the world to the extended community. And they have to come in contact with a certain amount of people on the land from different walks of life. And this is why we find ourselves as fugitives and vagabonds and vagrants, as pauper kings or pauper gods. Right?
Question. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we ride around on trains with hobo sticks, but we really the ones who's supposed to be governing this. But the uniform system is more pleasing to the eye than everybody's rep your colors.
Right. Hey, Rod, I got a good question for you. Based off, keep it going based on what you just said. Now,
I'm listening. I gotta grab something. I'm listening.
Like today, a brother was put to death on a death penalty. I don't know if you heard about that. And they had found evidence that the brother was innocent, and they didn't want to hear the evidence. They still put the brother to death today. Go out to the family on that. But he was in jail 25 years before they put him to death. That's just one part. That wasn't the question, but I was just making that like a known.
Do you think he the first one?
Huh?
Do you think he the first one?
No, he ain't the first one. He ain't the first one. He the first black brother they didn't did it like that. They didn't did a whole bunch of brothers like this. This was in St. Louis. This is in St. Louis. And you know how St. Louis is. But this is a question I got for you. All the people, because we know this been they've been auctioning us off to these private owned prisons. Now, so all the brothers that's been in there for crimes that not like real crimes like drugs and just stuff that's like couples and statues. Under Big Mama's rule, will they get released? And the people that's in there for they got proven that they innocent, like Doc and other people. How would it be a new jail system or prison system under Big Mama's rule? And those guys that's in there for those type of crimes, would they be released? That's the first question I got for you on that part.
They ain't gonna just open up the doors and let nobody out.
Okay.
When the system transition, that's not gonna happen. We can get that out of our head.
Okay.
But what will happen is called the attrition model. Every community has to have a what's called re-entry initiative program to acclimate the people that's been out of society back into the society and set them up for guaranteed success. And we have the model that's been proven to work, but it's never been applied in modern systems. They apply it in tribal communities all over the world. When you come back from war in tribal communities, you don't just join the community all over again. You go to an internship that can last up to 5 years with the shaman, and this is where your psychiatry, psychology come from, right? When people are under the stressors of war, they behave outside of their regular, natural self. We've been in a perpetual state of war in America, hardcore for 500 years. We ain't allowed to attack them because that was part of the George Washington challenge. We had to educate ourselves out of the condition that kept us ignorant enough to be controllable by the system. Most of 99.999% of us have no clue of what I'm talking about right now. Right. But this is why the devil got the extension from the War of 1812, which brought us to the 2012 calendar year. Right. And remember, it was 2014 when the Pope wrote Obama the letter.
Yep.
Right? Now, we didn't see Obama selling us out, even though he was openly doing it. We didn't know what he was doing because we don't know what's called the lingo of the secret societies or the royal families of Europe.
Right.
He was working hardcore. He was cloned by the Hitler program, the Boys from Brazil program, as the clone of Akhenaten, and his job is to seduce the people as if you was Akhenaten, and they will believe in you wholeheartedly, but you're going to do our bidding instead of doing what Akhenaten would have actually done, which was gave it all back to the people.
Right.
So when you look at ever since Ronald Reagan took power, or power was taken from Ronald Reagan by George Herbert Walker Bush before he assumed office. Right? That's what we don't pay attention to. Bush was not supposed to be his running mate. I think the guy named was out of Michigan was Monahan. Was supposed to have been the running mate for Ronald Reagan. But once he secured the Republican nomination, the Republicans marched George Herbert Walker Bush out, the godfather of the Skull and Bones Society, director of the CIA. Using his skull and bone contacts, he was able to get to the top tier of the CIA. He became the director of the CIA. As the director of the CIA, he was able to run off the Watergate scandal to get rid of Tricky Dick. he needed to put somebody that they called soft in office, so they elected a peanut farmer out of Georgia.
Wow.
Right? And why is he still living and he's 297 years old?
Right.
Everybody did but him.
It's a good
Right?
question.
Because he's an android.
Damn. Hey, man, that makes sense now, bro. You just made.
Go back to the year 2000 and What to Expect by Baba, Malachi Z. York.
Yeah, that makes sense now. A lot of shit just went off of my head when you said that now.
You know who else an android?
Who, Bite?
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg.
That motherfucker having AIDS since high school. That's not possible. I don't give a fuck how good your DNA is, but his DNA definitely wouldn't have been possible for him to not age in 35 years.
He looked the same, yep.
Because he's the same. You know where you can find him as Data on Star Trek.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's who Zuckerberg is. He's just a figurehead. The United States military owns the internet. Period.
Go ahead.
All of the social media platforms is military intelligence gathering platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Discord. If you name one, the military is the real owner.
Right.
Now they might put people in the position that look like X. They look like Elon Musk on X. He don't own shit. He don't own shit. First of all, he ain't even real. He got a whole dude about this tall working levers in his chest.
Right. It's a movie I like that. Yeah,
I'm serious. Like it sounds totally insane. I know it do because we're not used to seeing that.
Yeah,
but he got one of the little ones, and dude be laughing. He got a good sense of humor. The one that's inside of him. And he do stuff for joke value, shock value, to give him something to laugh at. And he know that 99.9999999% of humans have no fucking clue that the real Elon Musk been took out of the picture a long time ago.
Go ahead.
And it's about 3 different bodysuits he uses. He don't even use the same bodysuit all the time.
You can tell. You can tell.
And all of this stuff is like, we supposed to be able to see this because our God mind sees all deception. But they told us at the priest wars told us to not let our God mind activate. And amen.
Okay.
Unknown, concealed, repressed, held back. Amen. Amen. Amun. It's the same shit. It's a spell of sleep that you conjuring up on yourself because you believe that you can handle it with your ego's development on your own because they convinced you that you don't need nobody but your ego and your thermos.
Right.
That comes from the dirt.
I'm gonna ask someone. Raw Penn doing his breakdowns. Goddess was asking because this everybody been asking. I got this question 100,000 times, and I got it written down. Dark Goddess. She was asking about because we know on some reservations when I visit some reservations, especially the ones like in that was New Mexico, they didn't pay electricity. They have free electricity, and so they was wondering like on the Big Mama system.
All utilities is prepaid. You don't pay for utilities. That's governmental responsibility.
Right. We really don't. You really can't pay for the utilities now. You think you paying for utilities with fiat? You crazy? Look, it's a way you can write that off with a red ink pen. Like I saw some people doing it. I didn't go into it too much, but I remember it. But I don't paying. We only supposed to be paying water and electric.
Look,
do it, bro.
It's called redeem it for value, accept it for value. With the red ink, but that's a trap.
How did that? Okay, go into the free electricity and how that works. All it together for us. Go ahead, bro.
Utilities is the responsibility of the government. Big Mama Bank pay all of the government's expenses. That's why everybody contributes to Big Mama Bank voluntarily. Nothing was forced. All of the Big Mamas joined together. There's 12 Big Mamas around the world that, and then they got lesser Big Mamas under them. They go down in series of 12 in the pyramid formation, but the 13th seat at the top is reserved for one with a very specific DNA coding on their genetics. The new system will only activate under the codes that's on the genetics of the correct heir. This takes you back to your Lack Z gene, your Henrietta Lack crisis in the medical industry of America, and the immortality and the proper owners of the planet. No man owns Earth. Earth is owned by the women. And this was determined because the same mitochondria in the woman is also in the soil of the earth. No cell can function without mitochondria. You cannot get it from your father line. You can only get it from your mother line. This is why property rights is heritable only through the mother line, because it's through the mother line that you can take a soil sample and match it to her DNA and know exactly that she was from Mississippi clay dirt walking in the age of Atlantis 287 million years ago, when she decided to take form on her own. But we don't want to talk about that because we still caught up in Anunnaki wars. Before Anunnaki wars, Big Mama was running the show. This was the place that the other people referred to as heaven. But you couldn't get in with a phallus until the gender contract was created. The gender contract was created because one of the Anunnaki was exiled for challenging his brother or his brother took the throne from him. Right? So when he didn't have nowhere to go, they have to create now what's called a gender contract. That we can't take you. Well, this is my situation. And then they found out he was 100% truthful, of good character and good standing, so they made a concession. They didn't know he was going to come with a tailwind of ragtag assholes. And by the time they figured it out, they created the defender of the earth, a parthogenic male child, as the firstborn of the earthborn, incarnated wisdom. So when we looking at the old systems, new systems, we going back to the first system. Everybody been telling us the whole time that the first gonna be made last and the last gonna be made first. But nobody's telling us why. Because the ones that's at the last place at the close of the age is the firstborn of the earthborn. And they are the ones responsible to shift the system to a functional and operational system at the conclusion of the war. The war was 6,000 years long. Years didn't exist in Atlantis because time didn't exist. So the whole time data is distorted because the linear time had to be inserted in order to cap off the war. If the war got a beginning and it got an ending, and both of them is a definite point between beginning and end, alpha to omega. Omega is not the last. Omega is the first. Alpha is the last. But we got it all twisted. We think when they say from alpha to omega, that alpha is the beginning. No, omega is the beginning. And if you don't believe me, go find one of them omega fraternities and say, is omega the beginning or is alpha the beginning? And they're going to look at you in utter shock because they told in secret and they ain't supposed to tell nobody. But if you ask somebody in good faith and goodness and truth and you got the right blood, they got to tell you the truth. So the Omicron, which is the alpha, came out of Omega.
Go ahead.
So now you talking about the creation of your Aleph in Arabic, and Hebrew is Aleph, right? So now this is creating an English variant, took from the Greek alphabet, and it made the letter A. The letter A is a pyramid with the bottom pushed halfway to the top. What do that mean?
Right?
Half cocked. These ones, because when you put the bottom back on it, it ain't alpha no more. You know what it is? It's delta now.
Yeah. You crack heads. Go ahead, bro.
Okay, all these is codes. These the light codes that's been trapping us mentally for thousands of years. That's why I had to go through my whole life miserable and suffering, and people thinking that I was a totally babbling idiot because they couldn't understand the shit that was coming out of my mouth. So I had to stop talking for a period of time.
Uh-huh.
This is the same stuff I was telling my sister and my mom and them when I was 2 years old. And they was like, what is this boy talking about? Then they had to take me to my big mama. Big mama, what is he talking about? And she said, baby, know exactly what he's talking about. I'm 2 years old. Telling them how we being deceived. My mama told me when I was about 3. She started telling me on a regular basis, baby, you can't tell people everything you thinking because they're going to think you crazy, put you in a mental institution and dope you up and make you to a vegetable. And I knew what a vegetable was from watching the TV. Otherwise, I wouldn't have never knew what she was talking about until I got grown. But I ended up seeing the dude on the comatose state, and I heard him on the TV show say he a vegetable, and it made it click, and I wasn't even for it. I really shut down then. I really got to turn this shit down. And then I started watching everybody saying, how can I act like I'm one of them? I didn't even know how to act like I was regular. I used to levitate when I was a baby, but don't nobody remember it now. Or at least they say they don't. Because don't nobody want to be
crazy.
Looked at. Yeah. Oh, you just co-signing that bullshit. So now they be like, it sounds like something that we would have been laughing at, but I don't remember. Yeah, you don't remember, but you looking at it in your brain because I'm looking at you looking at the actual event in your brain because we was connected at the moment that it happened.
Hey, this is another quick. Hey, Roy, I got another serious question for you because everybody asking this question. I got it written down. They saying that, okay, the immigrants and people was mad. I know y'all was mad about the pictures and the Big Mama's playing. I'm gonna put more Nubian pictures in there next time. I really let the AI generated that thing based on like I haven't put the plans in there, but I let them generate the pictures. And I didn't think about it, but there are people that like the pictures, and they saying the $5 Indians and the $3 Indians on there, and even a little bit, a couple 50-cent Indians. They ain't like the 50-cent Indians neither. But this is the thing I'm making about the immigrants. Now we notice they're bringing a whole bunch of immigrants over. Now, how's the land gonna be distributed once this government gone and they got the states now? They got the Georgia, and we didn't have it like that. We had territories based on tribal territories. So how's the land gonna be divided? Is people gonna get because people thinking that, once Big Mama take over, Big Mama gonna give everybody a house, and Big Mama gonna give everybody some land and 40 acres in a mule. Is Big Mama gonna get
They're not too far off.
Go ahead.
But it ain't like, for instance, cities in the inner city, whoever is the godfather of the city, the mayor is supposed to be the big mama of the town. And Chicago got aldermen, but some town got city councilmen, right? And they supposed to represent the neighborhood. Them was all women's positions under the tribes. The politics was left to the women because there's a lot of arguing that goes on, and men arguing tends to lead to war instead of solution. But 2 women arguing will come up with a solution before they ever get to the war part. So in the cities, it's going to be different. But the people that live in the city are going to be tied to the people in the country by family heritable land rights. And all of your family not going to look like you. Keanu Reeves might be young Elder's cousin and he don't even know it yet. With motherland blood.
Cause he a black Irish. Yeah, that's gonna be true, Roy. Cause my grandma is black Irish. My granddad is mama. She a black
Look,
Irish.
my great grandfather that raped my great grandmama was an Irishman.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, same
His
thing.
brother has a park named after him in Macomb, Mississippi, not too far from it. It's called Percy Quinn Park.
Uh-huh.
The Quinn's side of the family is both paleface and red hybrids.
That's what my granddad and them is. Yep, on my dad's
Okay,
side.
now, if anybody can look up Percy Quinn Park, that's the dude that raped my grandmama and got her pregnant is his brother.
Go ahead.
He Irish.
Go ahead.
Now, on my grandfather Hezzy's side, he don't have Irish blood. This is my grandmama's husband. That's my mama's daddy.
Yeah.
He comes from the French Creole, them Algonquin long-faced chiefs with that wavy curly hair that be slicked back.
Yeah.
Right? That's his heritage. They married in with the French.
Yeah.
But the French, they was already there before the French came. Them people that they call in Creole culture goes back long before Columbus ever came over here.
Right.
Most of us on the land, from the land, have no clue that all immigrants can welcome to come to the Americas, but it was one caveat. You have to come through Port Nola.
Go ahead.
If you don't come through Port Nola, them tribes, this is why Sitting Bull had to take that public lashing from Tupac Amaru, because he didn't do what he supposed to did. When he recognized the traders on the land, he didn't sound the alarm and we got overrun.
Damn.
Had he done that, they would have never made it past the Louisiana. It would have never made it to the Louisiana Purchase. It would have never been no bloody run in Detroit. And the only thing we would have been having to protect from the French would have been the islands, specifically Haiti.
Okay.
Or Haiti. Them people been there so long that if you dig down deep enough, you can match the strata to the numbers of hundreds of years. And I guarantee you go down 1,000 years under one of them mountains and find bones of people that was living in Haiti that matched the blood of some of them people walking around today. Right? But they don't want to do the motherland research. They only want to go with the fatherland because the fatherland can be cut off anytime the mother pick another man to have a baby with.
Hey, I
don't understand.
Hey, Jet Jones, I got something coming out on the tribes. A correction on that tribe. It's not the Texas tribe. It is a Texas tribe that's similar to that name, but I found that tribe is down in South America. I'm gonna get back more with you on that, Jones.
The Arawak's point of origin is the Congo basin of South America called the Amazon basin.
Okay.
When you look at a lot of the bush people in the Amazon with the gold skin and the black straight hair, because they was marrying people from China.
Okay.
So now the blood is an admixed of Asian and organic. Negrito is the genetic classification that they gave us in science. So if you want to find us in science and you don't want to look under Negro, you don't want to look under colored African America, the scientific reference to the people that's organic to the both North and South and Central America, they called us Negrito. It's the same mother line as the people from Japan, the people from India, original people. They all trace back to people from Australia and the Tonga, Samoan Islands. They all trace back on the mother line as Negrito. But you have different settlers coming in on the father line. So now you have multiple Y chromosome derivatives. See, but the mother line you can't conceal. You can only conceal the father line, and that's why the line say it's mama's baby, but daddy's maybe. The woman genetically in her uterus, you can fertilize an egg. She can go into the queen's chamber of her brain where she stored genetic information from everybody she ever been with, and she can make a composite child in her womb using your sperm as the catalyst. She built this child subconsciously because we don't do it consciously no more. And now this girl can test everybody that she ever slept with and she won't be able to find the father. She just created a whole new Y chromosome bloodline by patching together all of the different bloodlines that she ever slept with.
Doc talk about that too. Doc talk about that. People don't know about how powerful DNA is.
Yeah, but even typing, right? Next time we come on, bring this book and pull this book out. So next time I come on with you, I can show you the book. But blood typing can trace you back to a single square block of area in any land. That was in the 40s and the 30s. DNA is supposed to be more accurate than that. It's not. Because the way that they was using to trace you by the typing, it also goes into changes in diet that took place from where you originate from. They can tell you which land your bloodline settled on before it got to you based on the changing in the type and the rate of change that it take. And then they have markers, what they used to like. Type A might have 15 letters behind it. Right? But see, that was before they understood about the genome and decoding the genome. Now the genome took all of that string behind the A on the blood type, and then they put it into one letter. And they supposed to have all that data under that one letter, but they don't put it all in there. This is why DNA analysis is not accurate as it should be. But all that's going to be corrected. But they've been using it to usurp us. They've been using it to oppress us. Everything has been designed to oppress us, no matter how harmless it may seem. The dog pound has been used to oppress us, right? It no matter what, you can't. The church is supposed to be the most benevolent thing to people, but that's because they don't want you to know the history of the church. They only want you to know what the preacher tell you on Sunday. Right. When you know the history of the church, you're like, wait a minute, this is a military contingent called priests that's operating in a spiritual warfare on the behalf of somebody that's not us. Whoever this Yahweh character is that they represent, and whoever his son is that the Allah people represent. Right. And whoever his brother is that these sinners represent. Right. And whoever Yahweh, whoever believe in him, they the ones who give you a false promise of an eternal life when you are already an eternal being. Nobody has to promise you that. You just have to come to terms with death. Right. Soon as you come to terms with death, you can talk to, in your DNA, you got a direct hotline to any ancestor that's on your DNA, because that's still you in a different form.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Hey, I
So
gotta
they
go.
don't want you to know that. That's part of eternal life.
Right. Man, we in the think tank. I got a couple more questions for you, man, because people want to know this one. I took all day to write them down because they was like, "Oh man, I want to know this about
Go ahead.
now
Go ahead. Just ask the question now that we here.
the jobs system and the system of way we get paid. We get paid every 2 weeks. I remember somebody was saying in ancient Kemet, somebody complained about it, and then they started paying everybody every week. Now, when we transition over to the new Big Mama's new currency, you was talking about a brick. And but before we talk about the brick, I'm gonna come back and ask about the brick. But I want to ask you about the doula centers and the medical. We already talked about the doula centers before, right? Now the doula centers, because I listened to Trump now and saw how they was talking about birth control and controlling the birth and this and that. How would the Big Mama's doula centers play a part in the bringing forth for the new generation? Because you go in this a little bit on that, touch on that. Go ahead.
Okay, so right now you have a lot of doulas that's starting to reclaim the practice of being a doula. This is the history or the origin of your medical community, your health practitioners. If you go back to Credo Mutwa, he tell you that it was a group of women who communicated with the different plants that gave us our herbalists. These women was before gender, right? They parthogenically reproduced because there was no gender. There was no polarity to the birthing process. It was on a singularity frequency. There was no opposite shit because there's no gender. When you hear the hermetic laws, the 7 hermetic laws or principles, the law of opposites, the law of gender, the law of frequency, the law of vibration, all of these are contingent on separation from the singularity, right? Before they start coaching the children to be this elemental P community, right? Prior to that, only certain people would be born with both genders embodied in one person, and the gender that they physically represent be suppressed over the gender that they actually are. You call them today homosexuals. But it wasn't a sexual thing. They wasn't here trying to have sex. They didn't come. They was called two gender people, and they was a different group of human than the rest of us. But when they found out that they can use the priesthood to convert children to an alternative lifestyle, now you get the debauchery in the age of Noah, right? They identify when that was introduced to humans. Humans in a natural tribal state without interfering from any colonizers don't produce male homosexuals. They have to be some kind of way indoctrinated with one of the Romance or Roman cultural derivatives in order for the women to even consider giving birth to a man who's not naturally supposed to be two gender, to give him feminine tendencies. This is taught in early childhood, and except for the ones that was sacred and they was two gender people. Sometimes they was born hermaphrodites or hermaphrodites, but that was rare. They normally look like one gender, but they got the spirit of both, which means they got two brains, a fully functional masculine brain, a fully functional feminine brain. and the artistic expression was more pleasing to behold than the linear logic. So the artistic expression was always celebrated coming from the two gender people. And they used that and they weaponized it and turned it into a whole agenda of conversion of males to the alternate gender in order to rid the world of warriors. That was Yahweh's promise, that he would rid the world of warriors once it was totally under his control. But his method to rid the world of warriors that was rejected during the time of Noah, when you go back to the Anunnaki tablets, they using that as a means of birth control to promote the males to have sex with males. They cannot reproduce. And now that you've convinced the woman to no longer reproduce through parthenogenesis, you promote the woman to sleep with the woman because they can't reproduce. That was all Enlil's design, or Yahweh's design, right? So when we come into modern times, we realize all of these things that they've been using that's supposed to be for benevolent purpose was weaponized for nefarious means. Remember, the war in heaven landed on earth. And they never told us the war ended.
Hey, that's facts, bro. Revelations chapter 12:7.
They say, and Michael and his angels
Yeah.
fought with Lord Set and his angels, or Satan, is Lord Set. And Michael and his angels, who okay, now we're talking specifically Enki's son, Marduk, who grabbed him by his crackhead neck and slapped him off of Nibiru down to the earth.
Right.
Through a portal.
Right.
It was a fist fight between a uncle and a nephew.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you the details about the fight like I was there, but I know who can. And that's Malachi York. And he's going to eventually tell about the war in heaven, how Inanna was attacked by her brother Enlil, who wanted to claim Earth above her when she had mitochondrial rights to tie her to the Earth. He didn't like it. And she told him to give her a baby. Now we're getting into the details of the war in heaven. Enki, which they call him the dragon in Revelations, said that he was waiting to receive the child, the male child, from the woman. Right? All of this is all taking place.
He's talking over here. He's talking over his now.
All this stuff taking place in Revelations about the family conflict on Nibiru.
Right.
They, or as they say in the Orianos, the heavens. Orion, we talking about the story of Osiris being slain by his brother Set, who became, he was in Set, became Satan, and his brother, the Osirian, or the heavenly one, whose body was designed to match on the ground the stars in the sky of the Orion constellation. Right? And it was the sun who's represented as Heru, who is the black dog, which is actually on the chessboard a knight. And he was on the heels of the father learning how to be a great man, the green man, the one who loves to win, or he loves to go, the green light, Sufi order. I'm just backtracking the linguistics along the storyline. So when the green one manifests, he steps forth out of the heart chakra of the mother
Go
to
ahead.
become David, the beloved David, and she raises him up to become Solomon, or the soul man walking, Solomon, the wise one, and wisdom is justified of her children. And this why Mama is the master masons, the master of all masons, and she's being tested for her Isis seat as Het Heru, the heiress to the throne, by the current Big Mama, right? And the only way she can prove it is she has to, without the aid of the man, mold a man without a man's guidance as the key. In other words, raise your child up to be God-like, and he will take God form as an adult. But if you raise him to be manly, then when he take human adult form, he will be man-like, right? And if you convince him to be man-like, he's gonna aspire to be mankind, a kind of a man.
Right.
Right? This is called de-evolution. Once he accepts himself as a kind of a man, now he's just a shell of himself.
Right.
Right? That means he no longer has a soul.
Go ahead.
Because in order to be the true self, you can't be mankind, just the shell. You have to embody the soul. Right? But instead of dressing from the ground up, you dress from the top down. And the wisdom of the mother falls on the heads of the babe as she speaks. And they say she comes to town with a monkey on her back. And everybody thought she had a Jones. But the monkey on her back was a baby who grew up to be a full fucking grown gorilla. Right? All of this is taking us back to the war in heaven being unraveled as it plays out in the human arena as a storyline and political satire that comes from the Republic of Rome that absorbed Helen and her Greek culture and use the art in order to conceal the war. And the commission to settle the island of Crete was given to Het Heru, which was the daughter that was the next heir in line to learn how to civilize man. She didn't say to uncivilize man. She said how to civilize man. But what does civilize mean?
Right.
Civil means it's orderly. And to eyes it is to polarize it with, or to infuse it and polarize it with the predisposition for order. And you do this with something called the law. The law is the methodology or the rollout program of how to govern the land, air, and water on behalf of higher intelligence while you are in a state of lesser intelligence. Right? So if you want to raise your thoughts into the thinking of God, you got to be big enough, bad enough, and brave enough to call yourself God.
Right.
And that right there is belligerent to the rest of the people who can't fathom in their mind that you become the God that saves yourself when you realize the God that's in you speaking to you, and you let that God speak through you to the people that's listening to you. At first, they not gonna get it.
See.
But put the record on repeat. That means put the cycles in a loop. The record is the accounting of things past. The universal record, we call it the Akashic record.
Right.
Right? But what did her voice sound like?
Go ahead.
You see what I'm saying? Akashic got a record, but what do her voice sound like? Matter of fact, Akashic got a record, what they charge her with.
Go ahead.
Right?
You going in.
Right. So now if you want to weigh her out, you got to consult her sister, Mott, who keeps all things in balance, or the sister who keeps the record. She keeps the record because she's a record collector. And Ma is telling you where Ma is at. She's on the balance. Mother on the balance. Who is the redeemer of the mother? Daddy dead. Has to be the son. The son grows up to become exactly like the father, because now he's aspiring to be a father figure, right? In the shape of the father he was raised in the shadows of, right? Always wanting to go, but Papa was a rolling stone. Right? And because Papa was a rolling stone, he kicked the little dog to the curb who became the black stone. He can't take him with him until he learned how to bump straight off his mama.
Go ahead.
Right? These is Masonic codes that ties to stellar events, that ties to biblical oratory, that ties to the war that landed on earth, that came from heaven. And we are the ones that has to wake up to the knowledge of self. I am not mortal. I am immortal in a mortal time frame for a fixed position in order to settle a condition that has confused the minds of the masses into becoming the cattle that they said they didn't never want to be. Well, I ain't never want to see that. When did I say that? You said you don't need no leader.
Right.
So stop looking for a leader. But the only people that don't need a leader is the leader.
Right. Good. Hey, you got a point there.
The only people that don't need a leader is the leader.
That's facts.
And the ancestor said the one that know the path must lead on the journey. Why is that? Because experience is the best teacher.
Go ahead.
If you ain't walked through the darkness, how can you come into the light and explain the difference to somebody who never seen the darkness?
Go ahead.
Right? If you haven't walked on the underbellies of society, how you gonna tell the socially upright where their error is? By keeping them people on the underbelly.
Go ahead.
And the only reason they stand down there because they strong enough to take it, because oppression is atmospheric. You can only be oppressed to the level that you're willing to accept the oppression. Because most people don't want consequence. So therefore they dare not to take action. And then they don't need a leader. But they following everything that the mainstream is doing. But they don't need a leader.
More questions out. We got about 22 minutes. I want to get another before we get to the 2-hour mark. Now, a shout out Dream Maker. I got you. We got to get that question written down. We're gonna ask that question for you. Shout out to the I think it was for the super chat. We're gonna get your questions, Dream Maker. The next question I got for you, Raw, because we crunching the time. On transportation, people asked about transportation, and they asked about the license, and now they got to have license to do this, license to be CDLs. And they said they kind of like the license system a little bit because it controls on if a crazy fool can't drive or somebody too old to drive, because a vehicle in these vehicles.
It won't be restricted by the state. First of all, I know where you're going with this. It's up to the family to determine that this family member can't drive. So now this family member that can't drive has an appointed driver in the family. Their job, that they can live their best life doing is driving this person around because they not fit to drive. That's going to be a family function, right? And the territories might have varying ways in which they roll out how fast you can go, whether we have speed limits or not, because speed limits are useful in cities, but they're not useful on the highway. Right? The Autobahn is more useful for long distance travel, but the speed limits and a lot of the traffic signs is most useful in cities and city outlays. You got to look at what's functional and why is it functional there? Because the type of traffic that goes through a city, you need more information to get from point A to point B, right? So that's going to vary by local government's decision. In the local government, if they write you a citation from the local government, you take it to your Big Mama bank, and Big Mama, which is your banking committee now, because every family gonna have a family banking committee, so nobody can't take all of the money from everybody else, right? Because we inherently greedy. We say we not, right? We say we wouldn't take our siblings' shit. We say that we support the family sticking together, but under certain conditions, family members sell each other out on a regular basis. So to prevent that, the banking has to have enough members of the banking committee that's based on the people that understand the process of banking. City citations is to be dealt with between cities, right? So if you live in Chicago and I live in Detroit and I come to Chicago and I violate their rules, they write me the citation. I give it to Big Mama Bank. When I get home, she give it to the city of Detroit, and then they settle up on that. Cause it's just like, this is why we had check-in chiefs. Cause if you ain't supposed to be driving and your driver is bringing you to another chief's territory, and he get the word you're not supposed to be driving, he's going to also appoint you a driver. So if you come with one, they can enjoy the trip. But you got a driver appoint. There's amenities that comes with the check-in chief. The check-in chief don't supposed to ask you for no money. They ain't supposed to extort you. He's supposed to be the one who relegates the courtesies of the local tribes to the visiting tribes people from other lands or other territories from wherever you from. So you go to the check-in chief, he gonna make sure that whatever you need, the barber is here, because the barber normally was the check-in chief back in the day. That's why it's a high-ranked tribal position. It's a high-ranked tribal position. So the barber is the check-in chief. He gonna tell you who to go talk to if you need clothes, who to talk to eat, you don't never have to spend a dime on another territory, because they take care of each other across territories by having the check-in chiefs tell them what chiefs is doing what on the land. Oh yeah, Sonny Boy over there, he do the barbecue. And then you got Willie Boy, him and his uncle Charlie, they fix all the cars, so they're giving you the lay of the land all the time. You're getting the fresh ass fade. Right? So by the time your haircut is up, you know everywhere to go and who to talk to.
That's facts. Hey, they tried to bust that up though. That was man. That's big that you said. Yeah, go ahead.
Now they villainizing it. They villainizing it because they don't want us to go back to our culture.
Right.
So now they got these characters masquerading as check-in chiefs, telling people to check in and robbing them and shit like that.
Yeah.
But they hiding it from the locals, especially if they got any understanding of the functions of tribe, and they find out that the check-in chief is extorting and robbing people. He gonna come up missing.
Yeah, they used to behead them back in the day. Like we
Well,
used to
they used to
behead.
come up. They literally used to come up missing. Whatever
Yeah.
they did with them, they did. Because you ain't supposed to mistreat. Big Mama's rules is courtesy to strangers. She's xenophiliac. She's not xenophobic. And this is how this became the great melding pot. Because once you got Procyon and Nola,
That's right.
you go talk to the Big Mama down there. She just your character, how you behave, your mentality. Now she know what part of the land to send you where you gonna fit right in with the local tribe. No matter what you look like physically, didn't matter. Yeah, Big Mama don't play. Big Mama, look, when Big Mama put on man shoes, it was fight time. Everybody know how to fight, come and follow. If Big Mama got her got the man shoes and she got her shotgun, every motherfucker with a gun coming out the woodworks. That was just because we listened to the children, and the children used to tell the older ones what's going on in the house while they working in the barn or while they working in the fields. You hear the baby say, "Oh, Big Mama got on man shoes," and then all of a sudden the uncle say, "What did that baby say? Big Mama got on man shoes." Hey,
Oh yeah.
Jimmy, Big Mama got on man shoes. What you say?
Yeah.
Come on. And when they start walking, where Billy and Charlie going? Oh, Big Mama got on man shoes. Oh shit. Well, come on, man. We ain't got time to be sitting around here playing with these. We gotta go see about what Big Mama, because she only put on Big Papa shoes when it's time to kick some ass. Now it ain't wartime, it's just ass kicking time. And her first round ass kicking team is coming with her.
Right.
Right. And then if they call for reinforcements because something went out awry, that's when them big goons come.
Yeah, the crazy niggas.
That's when Angel Bay show up at your house or Big Tookie show up on your front porch. You done fucked up then.
A whole bunch of big niggas.
Yeah, in the streets, while they on your porch, you can't even see for the colors in the streets.
Yeah.
Soldiers come in to solve Big Mama's problem. We didn't have personal problems. Only person had personal problems was Big Mama's. Everything else was community problems. And all final decisions lay on the desk of the Big Mamas. The tribal mothers is what we call them in modern terms. Whether you go to Samoa, Tonga, Hawaii, whether you go to South America, Central America, North America, whether you go to Africa, whether you go to Europe, and pale faces in Europe, they don't play about their Big Mama. They do not play about their Big Mama over there. And you always see her because she looked just like Granny with Tweety Bird.
Right.
Right. But when they come over here under war zone time, the Big Mama's been neglected because she don't have to solve the problem. The problem is the war. She got to let the soldiers fight the war. And one of the generals is going to bring it to an end by solving the fucking problem at the root. And the root is the sleep spells, all three of them. That's Kingu, that's the spell of our men, and that's the motherfucking George Washington challenge conjure spells. All three spells of sleep. And as long as you understand what's taking place, you waking up, let yourself wake up. If you feel like questioning everything, question everything come across your mind, but ask yourself for the answer first, and you'll be surprised how fast the answer comes. You're going to know exactly who to ask, when to ask them, and why you asking them. The most likely person to give you the answer is the one you're supposed to be asking.
Hey, bro, Dream Tracer, Dream Maker, shout out Dream Maker. She left the super chat. She wanted to know, do you got anything on the triangle in Lake Michigan? The Michigan Triangle in Lake Michigan.
It's just like the Bermuda Triangle. It's the same thing. It's under Lake Michigan, you got a replica to Stonehenge. You have pyramids under Lake Michigan. You got half of Chicago under Lake Michigan. Most of us don't know that. While they trying to tell us Jean-Baptiste du Sable founded Chicago, and all of the Stone Age Chicago is under the right out downtown on the Gold Coast, under the motherfucking lake is half of the city of Chicago, under Lake Michigan. And that's why only certain boats can come through there to Navy Pier, because if the boat too big, it might run into one of them buildings underground. They got some big boats though.
Man, you cracking heads. I ain't know that, bro.
Yeah. Remember I told you about St. Bernard Parish off New Orleans, and now that pyramid is starting to rise out the water, people started sending me they sending me the receipt talking about, you sure said it.
Somebody was showing me something that was CIG, but then I went and did more stuff on it. It's they actually got this on file down there about this place before they said something about it. They already knew about the place. Yeah. But the pyramids and shit. Go ahead.
Yeah. All of that was on what's called a floating island. They sunk the island.
Right.
But it used to be land masses. They got a place right now where they be moving the little islands around with boats. All of the people in the community get in their boats and they push the island. Well, this was like an island, but it was more like a shelf because it was attached to the rest of Louisiana.
Yep.
Right. And they knew this, so early on in the war, they bombed that with the French and the Spanish was bombing that area. Right. So that's why they knew that's why they have churches there. Under the part that's closest to land, because all of it didn't sink at once.
Yep. Hey, it's more than one pyramid down there too. That's another thing. It's that they found. It's a couple pyramids down there. It's a couple of ruins. Yeah, like it's a lot of stuff to pop off. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what most people don't know is that the only reason why so many islands in Central America was the first Anunnaki Wars. That was made into a crater. In the crater, the oceans flooded into the crater. It's a meteor crater, but it's not a meteor. But in history books they tell you a meteor struck and was now in the Gulf of Mexico. That wasn't a meteor. It was the first Anunnaki. It was a bomb. See, we keep thinking that the Stone Age, which is less than 6,000 years, was the beginning. No, that was just the beginning of the Pleiadian light lock in the brain drain on the humanity to dumb us all down. And God's taking the form of humans, and all of their memories have to be erased to level the playing field. And it's going to take you a certain amount of time in that space of 6,000 years of coming back over and over again till you figure out all parts to the puzzle. And then you have people that figure it out midway through that we can throw Hail Mary passes into the future by keeping a written record. And this was the birth of hieroglyphics. If you go to the tribes anywhere, Africa or Asia or Australia, they say that man didn't need writing because he remembered everything and he knew everything. All of a sudden, the ancestors said it's going to come a time where the only way we're going to be able to remember is to put it in writing. That's because the prophecy that they was given was from outside of the confines of time. they wasn't restricted by time to be able to see linear movement into the future. They had the free flow of galactic sight. So they see before time and they see after time. In order for it to be time, it has to be a definite limit, or it wouldn't be time. It's just like you have to have a definite number of seconds in order to make a minute. You don't have a difference of seconds that make up a minute, right? Because then a minute would be unstable. The time must remain stable. That means it's a beginning and it's an end. Anything that has a beginning and end in the realm of the gods is referred to as a race. And this is why people on earth are called races of people, because whatever genetic stock you is now, in a couple thousand years, when you come back, your genetics going to be from a whole different stock, but your activation code will remain the same. Right? So you are a race, and then one race gives way to another race that gives way to another race until everybody had an opportunity to rule at the top. Now we all races are equally experienced in ruling from the top and suffering at the bottom. Now we assume our original positions to balance out the resolution to the war, to the conflict between the gods.
Hey, Rod, we got about 4 minutes. And before you get out of here, I wanted you to break down what you was breaking down to me on the phone about the brick, the new thing you was talking about, the brick with the British, Russia, Iran, I think it was, Korea, and Saudi Arabia. I think, yeah, all right, so you break, go elaborate on that a little bit. Go ahead, the brick.
So what the BRICS is a group of countries that wanted to get off of America's fiat system and decided to use gold-backed currency instead of fiat, which also eliminates debt, which is a violation of Islamic law, Buddhist law, and Confucius law. No matter which one of them you go to, none of them believed in debt. They know that the tribes in the Americas is making a play to reclaim the Americas and to kill the dollar. So the only way that it'll work is they have to build a dam. The dam that they are building is made out of bricks of gold. They dam the dollar back home. At the same time they doing this, the Federal Reserve can't print more money because Donald J. Trump shut them down in 2017, right? So now, as they running out of money internationally, they pushing it back to the doorstep of us, because sooner or later they're gonna have to go to Big Mama and say, okay, we got to give up. You got to run your own bank now. Our bank don't work no more. So they damming the dollar, they building the dam with gold bricks in order for the current that you see to dissipate at home, right? Or accumulate at home, because that's what end up happening. Just like when the beaver dam a creek and make a lake, right? And the reason that it works is because economically, if you can't do business on an international level, the only way you can generate a positive cash flow is to do business with yourself at home. We don't want to do business with them, and we the only bank in town. We want you to go so we can do business on our own, with our own, like we was doing before you came. So the BRICS is financial instruments backed by actual substance that's pushing a fiat instrument that's backed by a false premise back to its point of origin. The weight of the accumulation of the fiat with no circulation is going to cause one, it's putrefying in the harbor. Right? That's one thing that it's doing. The other thing it's doing is starting to build up weight on top of itself. It's going to have to collapse. And when it collapses, then we go about all of the stuff that we seized using the oral tradition from them that they was trying to use to usurp us and to conquer us. We seize all of their shit. Now they don't got nothing. So all of the programs that was designed to be belligerent to us is now being made to work for us, to become our tool or instrument in order to make things more equitable as opposed to inequitable under the fiat lien system. Because that's what it is. All of your laws in the system is under a doctrine of levy and lien. And levy is the tribe of Levi, and the lien is the anagram for enlil. So now you know who was in charge of the banks. I mean, the law. And the banks is the ones who fall under the House of Dinah, but they don't want to talk about that because now they would have to expose the rightful heir. Because the wealth can only come through the motherland.
All right. We at the 2-hour mark, man. We gonna come back though. We'll come back tomorrow, next day, whenever we can, and we'll finish this up. I took all the notes down from this tape, and I'm gonna go over the notes and the questions that all the questions that you people asked. I wrote them. I'm gonna write them down. I'm gonna go back and write them down, and we're gonna make sure we get your questions and concerns answered. We just wanted to come on like this really was a surprise class because we really seeing how the checking the people out and seeing how they is on the land and how they responding to the switch. Because to me, it seemed like the government ain't gonna just leave us hanging. They gonna kind of like make it like a buffer to where we switch over to, the new system, And
well, you gotta remember the system that we took over. They was building internment camps to put us in. Guess who about to be there now?
Them?
Police, judges, and attorneys, politicians.
That's right.
All of them gonna have to, because this is a true conspiracy to undermine the tribes of the land.
Fact.
When you go to the FEMA continuity of government document, it tell you on the face of the document that it is the U.S. government and tribal government.
Mm-hmm.
Tribal government governs all tribal land according to the Indigenous Rights Acts.
Right.
It's all tribal land except for the 10 square miles that they call DC. But if we stake a totem pole in DC, we can reclaim that too.
And we did.
So I told you where they staked the totem pole to reclaim DC. So when tribal jurisdiction, which grandfathers in before 1492,
go ahead.
When the war in the Americas start, under the tribal jurisdiction and the great law, we can restore the matriarchy and we can restore the tribal government across the land. There's a couple things that we have to change. Lines of demarcations in capital cities all have to change. They can go back to what they was before the settlers came, like the territory that's now Illinois. The capital was Chicago, now it's Springfield, right? It can be moved back. It's going to be the discretion of the local people where to put the new capital based on the new state lines, because the states will not be divided up into 50 states any longer. I think they're going to cut it down to 10 territories.
Yep. Like that's how it was back in. Yep. Like it was before.
And then the 10 territories is going to have a grand matriarch who's going to have village matriarchs, city matriarchs, county matriarchs, right? So let's say you got 10 cities might make up a county. You got 10 matriarchs make up a county board,
Right.
but they all are the matriarch of the town,
Right.
what we would call the mayor. When she get to down there, the ones that make up the county government, the most competent among them is the default leader. And now all of the counties go to talk to the next tribal mother, which would cover the state or the territory.
Mm-hmm.
And they will pass problems of community development and the application of resources among themselves. And then they would call in like the chiefs who's skilled in this area.
Mm-hmm.
How do we solve this problem right here? This is what we're dealing with. And all of the chiefs who specialize in the area have to answer to the tribal council of mothers. They used to just call them the tribal council, but now you got to identify because they keep putting drag queens in the mix.
Right.
So there's the tribal council mothers, and they will sit there and they will all listen, and then they will ask you a series of questions based on their concerns. Then they take all of the accumulated information, and then they will start whittling it down to what's most practical, most functional, and most beneficial to the collective. If every individual's issue have enough people because it affected one person, based on the number of people, is that one person's issue have enough people that's not saying nothing that need it dealt with the same. This the difference in the type of government they call in the democracy now, where the majority can brutalize the minority. It ain't gonna be no more of that. Everybody got to have a level playing field or the game not fair. And we talking about the game of life. If your only concern is financial, that's the least of your concern.
Right.
You just don't know it yet.
Right.
The financial concerns was created by a system of debt and fractional reserve banking. This is what have us in the consumer's mentality of, oh, I won't be able to pay my mortgage. Oh, I won't be able to pay my lights. All that stuff supposed to be paid by the government anyway. Everybody got an absolute right to food, clothing, and shelter.
Right.
And anything that comes with food, clothing, and shelter is the responsibility of the government that is derived from a collection of the families of the area. And we can take information from one government or governing body to another if we find something that works easy and works well.
Right.
Right. So in the FEMA continuity of government, the tribes is pulling rank, and I'm just speaking up for them.
Okay.
Notice the agent is notice the principle. Everything I do is in the public domain, in their
Right.
face, not behind their back. I'm telling them straight and direct. The gig is up. The tribes is back. We back for everything they owe, and they owe us everything. So I'm just here to make sure we collect.
That's right.
Right.
Run. Oh.
And our system doesn't take place until their system falls. Their system is destined to fall because it can't stand under its own weight because it's built on a house of cards.
Thanks.
Right. And we didn't play the Trump card.
Thanks.
And they came with Chucks and Pearls and tried to slide a drag queen in on us like we wasn't going to catch it.
Yeah, right. Right.
Because there's at least three Kamalas, and one of them is a man.
Yeah, the one that had the pearls on that ear at the debate.
You can tell them apart so easy once you know it's at least three of them. Because one of them, she bouncy and youthful, and she don't do all that giggling.
Yeah.
And then you got the one that she not so bouncy, not so useful, can't stop giggling. The giggler, right? And then you got the man who talk like a man.
Yeah. Hey, Rod, my phone on 1%, man. We're 2 hours though. Hey, y'all. You got anything you gonna say, Rod, before we get out of here?
Nope. You can go and wrap us up, Elder.
Hey, if y'all want to show Rod some love, like I say, he don't do it for the money, man, but we like to show him some love. We had 5,000 people on tonight. We want to thank y'all for coming on. Like it was a spur of the moment with 5,000 people. It's a lot of people. We got about 1,500 on right now, man. If y'all send Rod $1, that'll put him in the game. If you want to send him more than that, man, that'll be love too, man. And we about to get up out of here, man. Free Dr. Malachi New York, free Larry Hoover, free Angel Bay. Free, H-Rap Brown, man. Free all our political prisoners on the land. The real chiefs, man. Because them guys in there because they stood for something. You know what I'm saying? On the land as chiefs, as an outlaw chief. You know what I'm saying? They was doing stuff. We'll get into that later. But man, peace and love to you all throughout the balanced universe. We about to get out of here, man. We'll be back tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
One last thing, somebody asked me. This is my correct Cash App, the one you see now. And the color is yellow because it's a couple of imposters on there. Yeah. So this is my exact Cash App, just like it's written on here.
Yep. Yeah, it's like another dummy Cash App you're gonna see under that. That ain't Rod Cash App. Somebody created an extra Cash App to try to steal Rod's. So, but do it just like you see it right here with the capital A, and it should pull up first. You know what I'm saying? It should be Rodney. It should say Rodney Hayes instead of the Rod Hayes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the one. Hey, y'all. So yeah, look, we about to get up out of here, y'all. We're gonna be back. We checking your temperature. We seeing where y'all at. We took notes from this, and we're gonna come up with another. We're gonna enhance the plan, and we'll come back and see what we got. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna keep the ball rolling, baby. Big Mama's Babies is back, and when we pull up in the back. You know what I'm saying? That's facts. You know what I'm saying? We out of here, man. Hey, peace of love. Love you, bro. Hey, love y'all, man. We out. One. Wadu.
Wadu.
Wadu.